for this week, the album that we are going to be discussing is the brand new Chris Stapleton album, Higher. Higher is the fifth studio album by American musician Chris Stapleton. It was released on November 10th, 2023. So, Eric, your thoughts on this album?
I am a huge fan of Chris Stapleton. He is on my bucket list. I want to see him live. Um, I have to say, everything he comes out with is good. However, I think that The Traveler is still my favorite album by him, which is his first. And then Starting Over is definitely his best out of all of them in terms of a commercial thing. I think this album it was more of an artistic style for Chris Stapleton because there's not a lot of like it's a very mellow album.
Hmm.
There's no like usually people think country music, they either think it's like a really, really sad song or they think it's like get in your truck, drive down the road, open a beer, you know. That is not this. This is the thing. Like this album is very melancholy.
Hmm.
But it's very honest lyrics. And that's one thing I love about Chris Stapleton because he still has that old style of country
Hmm.
that I think modern country is missing. Um, there's no country stereotypes in any of this, like these songs. There's none. There's absolutely none. And
I
I
mean,
just
he does
felt,
say horse.
well, that's a generic animal.
White horse. He still has a horse on this album, but continue.
Yeah, but the song itself, like he does sing like very like
Yeah,
metaphorically.
yeah.
Um, I I think that if you want like an example of what good harmonies are in a song, like check out songs on this album because him and his wife does the female vocal harmonies.
Hmm.
Unbelievable. Like it just sends chills down your spine. Like especially in "It Takes a Woman." Like it's just like this is a true country song. Like I picture like back in like Dolly Parton era of Willie Nelson, like the greats,
Hmm.
like playing. His voice is unreal.
Yeah.
Uh and he knows how to write songs. Like he knows how to structure them. I think it was in I want to say Think I'm in Love with You. They had that like weird bridge
Right.
like thing, but it was sounded good though. It
Yeah.
was just like it was like this thing for like musicians to appreciate, right? So
Yeah.
they're still having fun with the music, which I like. I did find that uh, I don't know who made the track listed, like the arrangement of the album. I felt like they could have done a lot better,
Yeah.
just because it was just all over the place. Like I like even simply like the first song, like it didn't really catch it doesn't really catch you. It's a very slow song. I would have probably picked South Dakota as the first one, which is this, and just flip
Yeah.
the one and two. It's like I don't think they even care. They just are like, these are my songs, and enjoy them or not. So, um, I mean, like, what do you think of them? Like, because you're not really into this realm.
Yeah, yeah. So like, no, I definitely appreciated that I didn't have to roll my eyes when I was listening to this album. Like, I do agree with you. It's a good country-esque album, I would say,
Hmm.
that doesn't do the whole, song and dance that like stereotypical country does, right? Like I was so happy that it wasn't that. Um, but I do agree with you. The track listing, the actual arrangement of the actual tracks was strange. Um, it just ended up being a list of songs that I don't know didn't really flow all that well together. Each individual song was fine on its own, but like one after the other, I was like, I don't. It doesn't. It seems more like a playlist to me rather than an album.
Mhm.
which was interesting. But individually, the songs are great. I think they're all like fine songs. But I don't think there is. I didn't come out of this with any sort of like hit single vibes on this.
Mhm.
I didn't come out of it like, oh, that's a really good chorus that I'm humming for the rest of the day.
Like, I came out humming, "It Takes a Woman," and I came out humming "White Horse."
Yeah,
So, in
White
my
Horse.
opinion,
Yeah,
I think those 2 are definitely, like, I know "White Horse" is the single, and it
yeah,
plays on
yeah.
the radio all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there are some great songs on here, like, "Weight of the World," I really like, "Crosswinds," like, they're all just solid songwriting songs. And
Yes. Yeah.
he's just really good at giving that country emotion behind the song, which is what country music is all about. Like,
Yeah.
that's how it is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think, for those of you who like hate country music because, you're exposed to sort of what the mainstream country music has been for, what would you say, last 30 years, 20 years,
mhm,
maybe. This is more to the roots of what country music should be or is. So it's definitely an album I would recommend to people to listen to,
mhm,
especially for those who don't like country music. But it is very mid pace. This whole album. There's no
mhm,
like, there's no fast tempo songs. I don't really think there were any like proper ballads, but a lot of songs that were like veering on that sort of slower
mhm.
pace of song.
Yeah, and I think that what makes Chris Stapleton is his wife in the band with the backup vocals,
Yeah.
because I think if you take that out, it will sound very like that is his like signature,
Mm-hmm.
right? So everybody talks about how amazing his vocals are, but he wouldn't be him without those backup vocals in there,
Mm.
because it doesn't have that same, like, because usually, like, when you're singing a backup vocal, most of the time, and especially in pop music, they'll kind of play a chord, whereas, like, good country music and, like, the old traditional style, they have this, like, almost like, it sounds like a twang, but they're almost, like, off the chord a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it just sounds like, just
Yep.
chills down your back every single time,
Yep.
like.
Yeah. So like, I I'm just having a really hard time with this specific album because like I listened to
Mhm,
it and I'm like these songs are good, but I didn't come out of it being like
mhm.
this is a great album.
Yeah, I think you're totally right what you said earlier, like, each song individually is great, but I even think if you rearrange the album, like, if we sat down and rearranged it, I still think it would still be the same. Like, I don't think it would be that much better,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, that is true. I agree with that. Like even if we started like moving songs around, I don't know, there isn't really a central theme through line through all these songs where you could arrange it in like a better form
Mhm.
or at least not one that's significant to make this album much better. Uh, Okay. I mean, maybe we'll go into final thoughts and ratings for this one.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Chris Stapleton. I think that, again, like Kemp said, if you hate crunchy music because you hate the stereotypes behind it, I still love those songs. I think that they're great. Like, some of them are really fun.
Ride a Cowboy.
Yeah, Save a Horse, Ride a
Yeah,
Cowboy.
that's
I
that
love that song.
for me. That's like the most stereotypical country song.
Especially, like, my favorite is "Rain is a Good Thing." Rain makes corn,
Right.
corn makes whiskey, whiskey makes my baby feel a little frisky. Anyways, Chris Stapleton, great. If Especially if you're like, I like country, but I like the old stuff, you'll definitely like Chris Stapleton. I probably wouldn't recommend listening to this one if it's your first time. I would recommend listening to Starting Over. I think that album is magic. I still really love his first album. The Traveler. So check that out. If you do love Chris Stapleton and you haven't checked this out, check it out because you'll like it, but it's nothing special. I don't think it's anything memorable.
Rating?
Oh, rating. Yes. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10.
A 7. Oh, geez. I thought I was gonna give it a low score. I'm actually giving it a 7 also. Uh,
Oh.
because like I'm surprised you're giving it a 7. Because like the
Mhm.
songs are good. It's just
Mhm.
as an album, I don't know if it's really like I wonder if it could have been like 2 smaller EPs rather than a full album.
Yeah, something screams to me of, we need you to write some stuff. And then he's
Yeah.
like, all right, whatever, just put these two things together.
Yeah, that's it sort of felt like that. Like he just wrote a
Mhm.
bunch of songs and then was like, okay, here's the songs, put it out. Like that's
Yeah.
what this feels like. More like a mixtape or something, right? Like
Yeah. Like I felt like the arrangement was almost just like this is what we recorded first to last.
yeah. Yeah. But so from an album perspective, I can't really score it that high.
Mhm.
Because I just don't think it's a good album. But the individual songs are really strong and they're like all really good. So I'm actually giving it a 7 also. All right. Well, that was our discussion on Higher by Chris Stapleton. For those of you that are following along with us every single week, we're sort of still keeping with the country theme, but sort of not. The album that we're going to be discussing next week is Dolly Parton's brand new album, Rockstar. It's Dolly Parton's very first rock and roll album after a what is it like a 60-year career? It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
But it's her very first rock and roll album, so it's going to be interesting. 30 tracks. It's a long album, um, but we'll get through it. Hopefully, it's good. I really hope it's
Mhm.
good.
I hope so too.
All right, so Rockstar by Dolly Parton will be next week. And that's basically it. Yeah, so that's the podcast for the week. This is the Crossroads Music Podcast. We're here at twitch.tv/the Crossroads Music Podcast, 10 p.m. ET, 7 p.m. PT. We're on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, all the places where you get your podcast needs. Come yell at us, all that's good stuff. Eric, any closing thoughts before we wrap this all up?
Got nothing for you.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you all next time.
Peace.